At a Detroit auto plant in late 1957, a batch of newly rolled-off high-horsepower sedans slowly exited the assembly line. An assembly worker merely inspected the chassis of a red Plymouth only for it to crush his fingers on the spot. A seasoned worker nearby couldn't stand by idly, cigar in mouth. He swaggered over and plopped into the red sedan. He even flicked ash onto the pristine seats. Only after all workers had left did the factory supervisor discover he had died inside the car. Fast forward to 1978. Two young men were driving through the countryside when Arnie suddenly demanded his buddy Dennis reverse the car. Dennis assumed Arnie had spotted a hottie and wanted to chat her up. Instead, the rearview mirror revealed a rusted-out, crumbling old red Plymouth. Dennis looked disgusted, but Annie's eyes lit up like he'd seen his dream girl. He circled the car, gushing over the wreck. Dennis pointed out the odometer was nearing 100,000 miles and told Annie to snap out of his daydream. Just then, an old man appeared. He pulled out keys, offered Annie a test drive, and said it was his for just $2,000. Dennis thought it was outright extortion. That price could easily buy a reliable used car, especially since Annie had only recently gotten her license. But the old man insisted he was moving out soon, and this was a once-in-a-lifetime deal. Annie immediately agreed, completely ignoring Dennis's advice. Back home, her parents vehemently opposed bringing home such a pile of junk, wondering if she'd lost her mind. They argued that money could buy a much better car. But this time, Arnie was adamant. He'd had enough of his parents controlling everything. He wouldn't budge. He left home, drove the car to a self-service repair shop, and decided to restore it himself. The shop owner, Will, saw right away that Arnie was broke and deliberately made things difficult for him. Dennis, standing nearby, wanted to stick up for his brother, but seeing Arnie's look, he could only grin and bear it. The next day at school, Arnie got bullied again by Buddy's gang. They locked him in a locker and toyed with him like he was some little girl. Dennis heard about it and rushed to the rescue, but they were outnumbered. Both of them got beaten up. Luckily, a teacher caught them in time and threatened to expel Buddy's crew, forcing them to apologize. But this made Buddy feel humiliated. He glared at Arnie and Dennis and made a vicious threat. From that day on, Arnie stopped going home after school. He poured all his energy into that car, finally fixing it just in time for the school baseball game. When Buddy's gang saw Arnie pull up in his gleaming red Plymouth, Buddy nearly exploded with rage. Meanwhile, during the game, Dennis was stunned to discover that Lisa, the girl he secretly liked, was actually dating Arnie. His mind went blank, and he ended up getting injured and sent to the hospital. Out of respect for their long-standing friendship, Dennis didn't blame Arnie for being with Lisa. Instead, he generously encouraged them to be together. That evening, Arnie took Lisa on a date to the drive-in theater. But strange things began to happen. When Arnie got out to clean the windshield wipers, the car radio suddenly turned on by itself. The reading light emitted a blinding glare. Immediately after, Lisa choked on a hamburger. Terrified, Annie tried to open the door, but it had automatically locked. No matter how hard he pulled, it wouldn't budge. Inside, Lisa struggled desperately. At the last possible moment, a man from the adjacent car pulled the door open. If not for his intervention, Lisa might have suffocated. The date was completely ruined. Arnie drove Lisa home, explaining it was just an accident. But Lisa insisted she could sense something wrong with the car, that it was jealous and trying to hurt her. This enraged Arnie. Breaking character, he not only defended Christine but also roughly grabbed Lisa's head and sneered at her. They parted on bad terms. As Arnie prepared to leave, the car refused to start. As if sulking, Arnie seemed to grasp something, quickly apologizing to Christine. The car finally forgave him and started smoothly. However, when Arnie returned to the auto repair shop, he didn't know Buddy and his three henchmen had followed him. Seizing the moment, they approached Christine armed with hammers and screwdrivers, intent on sending Arnie a warning. Buddy leapt onto the hood as the group began smashing and battering the car. The next day, Arnie sought out Lisa to apologize and brought her to the shop. The moment he saw his beloved car reduced to scrap metal once more, he instantly forgot about Lisa. Lisa tried to comfort him. After Lisa left, Arnie stayed alone until late at night. He swore to Christine he would fix her and make those who harmed her pay. Just then, Arnie heard a sound coming from under the hood. He went to investigate and saw Christine repairing herself. He seemed to understand something and slowly walked to the front of the car. Meanwhile, Moki, one of Buddy's accomplices, was climbing over a fence to head home when Christine, who had been lying in wait, spotted him. Unable to tell if it was Arnie in the driver's seat, he curiously asked, "What do you want?" Suddenly, Kristen flashed its headlights and accelerated, charging straight at him. Moki knew this neighborhood well and desperately tried to escape through the alleys, but Christine seemed equipped with a tracking device, always finding him quickly. Finally, she cornered him in a narrow wall gap. Terrified, Moki pulled out a knife for self-defense. The next day, detectives found red paint at Moki's death scene and tracked down Ani. But by then, Christine had already completed its self-repair. No matter how thoroughly the detectives searched, they found no evidence. With lingering suspicion, they had no choice but to release Ani. That very night, Ani, or rather, Christine tracked down Buddy. It rammed straight into his car. Buddy froze in terror, unable to tell if anyone was inside. He tried calling out Ani's name, but Christine, like an enraged beast, slammed the accelerator again and rammed into it. Both cars exploded, yet Christine backed out of the flames, transformed into a fiery chariot. Buddy, sensing danger, immediately fled. Christine followed at a leisurely pace, as if toying with him, until Buddy's figure gradually vanished into the night. Hours later, the garage doors suddenly swung open. A charred and unrecognizable Christine entered, terrifying the owner, Will. He quickly called Annie, learning she was in a neighboring town buying parts. Terrified, Will grabbed his shotgun and approached, ordering whoever was inside to get out immediately. He cautiously opened the door only to discover, horrified, the seat was empty. Will took a few steps back, but soon an eerie curiosity took hold. Grinning, he climbed inside. Just then, the radio turned on by itself. The door slammed shut. The driver's seat began moving forward automatically, pinning him against the steering wheel until death. The next day, when Annie drove back from the neighboring town in Will's car, he found the repair shop surrounded by police officers. Unaware of what had happened, he assumed his car had been vandalized again and rushed inside. Detectives stopped him and questioned his whereabouts the previous night, as his boss, Will, had been found dead in the driver's seat of Christine. When Annie looked at the car that had been charred the night before now appeared brand new. Realizing the police had no evidence, Annie's attitude turned hard. Meanwhile, Lisa found Dennis and told him Annie seemed like a different person, especially that car. It was eerily human-like, capable of jealousy and rage. She feared Annie might take drastic measures. Dennis also noticed the change in Arnie. Facing Lisa's pleading gaze, he agreed to help her destroy Christine. As soon as Lisa left, Arnie drove straight to Dennis's house. He was now a different person, shedding his former timidity. He even retorted sharply to Dennis's warnings. During their conversation, Annie gloated that this year he'd make everyone who'd ever bullied him disappear, urging Dennis to toast to a new life. But Dennis only raised his glass to their friendship. He desperately urged Annie to sell the car, yet Annie grew increasingly paranoid. He even let go of the steering wheel, allowing Christine to drive itself, a move that terrified Dennis to his core. The next day, Dennis sneaked into the repair shop and opened the door for Lisa. They waited in a wheel loader, ready to act when Christine returned. Just as Lisa tried to hide in the office, Christine, lurking behind the scrap pile, suddenly flashed her headlights. She slammed the accelerator, roaring toward Lisa. Fortunately, Lisa reacted swiftly and narrowly dodged the danger. Dennis quickly positioned the loader in front of Lisa, but Christine showed no fear, crashing into the loader with even greater ferocity. Fortunately, the loader was heavy enough to withstand the impact. Kristen immediately spun around and charged from the other side. Even with its front end smashed, it refused to give up. Slowly, it backed into the darkness. As the camera zoomed in, it revealed that Arnie was sitting in the driver's seat. He slammed the accelerator to the floor once more, driving the vehicle with brutal force into the office. At the moment of impact, Annie was thrown from the cab. His gaze fixed on Lisa before him, filled with hatred, but he instantly collapsed. A shard of broken glass had pierced his abdomen. He pulled out the glass, then with his last breath, gently stroked the hood of Chrissy before his life faded away. When Lisa emerged to relay the news to Dennis, Kristen roared to life again and charged at her like a mad beast. Lisa narrowly dodged it once more. Dennis immediately maneuvered the loader to ram Kristen into a steel pillar, hoping to wedge it in place. Unexpectedly, Kristen forced its way free and relentlessly pursued Lisa. Dennis swiftly maneuvered the bucket to crush it, only to be dragged forward by the machine. It didn't last long before it finally stopped. Still shaken, Lisa hid behind Dennis. Just then, the machine began self-repairing. Dennis reacted instantly, driving the loader over it. The next day, detectives arrived at the junkyard and found Chris Elstein flattened into a pancake. Everyone thought the nightmare was finally over, but no one noticed the scrap metal suddenly twitch slightly. So if Chris Elstein had a gender, would you say it was male or female?